I'll let these guys come in and sit down, and so it's somewhat quiet, so you can hear me. You guys are stuck with me today. I'm sorry. I know Lee was sorry about that. And he's got me on a clock, so. Yeah, Randy is gone today. He's back in Tennessee. I guess his stepfather, is that right, passed away, and so he's. Oh, so he drove. Woo. What's that? Oh, Tyler went. Okay. So, yeah, he'll be back today, you said, so. Long drive out there. That's a long ways. We got more people coming in. So I've been part of the class for a while, off and on. I've been over there with the teenagers, so forgive me if I repeat some stuff that Randy has said, if we do that. But that's okay. It's always good to be stirred up again, I guess, in the brain and be reminded of some things. So are they coming? Or was? Oh, Tyler's got it. Okay, perfect. All right. So, yes, forgive me if I repeat some stuff that Randy has said, but what we're going to do is we're going to go into chapter 18 and 19 of Job today. If you guys, you can turn there to 18 and 19 if you'd like to get started. But last week, we ended with Job's friends lost all compassion and empathy for Job. And this goes against, I think, what God would want us. I know that God would not want us to treat somebody who's suffering as kind of the way they've been treating him here and what they're saying to him. But this goes against the way God would want us to treat others as if they were suffering as well. You know, a question that I wanted to ask last week, and I didn't, and I'll ask you guys this week. I was going to ask Randy in his class. Do you think that Job's friends, Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, did you think they meant well? Do you think they had good intentions?
They traveled a really long way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And sometimes, you know, we can have good intentions as well. But if we open our mouths, sometimes we can let things come out that isn't going to. And I've done that, yes.
They might have had good intentions, but they weren't speaking truth.
Yeah.
They didn't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
Yeah. And so, I guess that we need to know what we're talking about. Now, I'm not saying that we can't say anything, but to speak in love and know what we're talking about. So, I did want to say that in Ephesians 4:15 says that, but speaking the truth in love, we are to grow up in all aspects unto him who is the head of even Christ. So to speak in love and some of the stuff, and we're going to talk. We're going to hear what Bildad has to say today. I don't know if some of this was real loving, put it that way, and we'll talk about that. But also, Ephesians 4:20. Let me go there real quick. I wanted to read that as well. Move my Bible over here. And if you guys have a comment or something, you just, if I don't see you, yell or throw something at me or something. So Ephesians 4:29 says, let no unwholesome word proceed from your mouth, but only such a word that is good for edification, according to the need of the moment, that it may give grace to those who hear. Something to keep in our minds as well as we do this. We go back to Job chapter 2. Randy covered this back in chapter 2 in verse 13. We remember his friends, and when they saw him, they came upon him, or in the beginning, when they saw him from a distance, I mean, he looked pretty bad. He was in really bad shape. I can't imagine. We've seen people that are dying and how they look. And it mentioned that They didn't even recognize him. And that's pretty bad. But in Job 2, it says that they sat with him for 7 days and 7 nights, and not a word was said. They were just there to comfort him. And when you think about that, sometimes not saying anything is probably the best thing. But when they started speaking, that's when things made it tougher on Job. So, all right. Any comments? All right. Chapter 18. We're gonna read that. And if you guys want to follow along, and then we'll go back through and kind of maybe dissect it a little bit. And I promised Randy that I'd get through 19 today so he could start fresh in 20. So I have to get through 19. I promised him that. So what we're going to read about is Bildad is angry. And Bildad is offended by what Job has said in the past. All right, he's offended by this. So basically, Bildad is kind of, so to speak, unloading on him a little bit. Did you guys know, I don't know if you guys know this, that's my middle name, Bildad. You didn't know that? No, I'm serious. My daughter's in college, and when it comes time for the tuition to be paid or the books, she just says, Bildad. Bildad. Do you like that?
He's also the shortest man in the Bible.
No, huh?
He's just a shoe height.
There you go. Shoe height. You like these dad jokes? It's Bildad jokes. And then after you pay that, it's broke dad. And Marilyn's back there laughing. She's going to be Bill Mom here soon with all those boys going to college, I think, too, right? All right. Well, we can have a little fun. So Job basically said to his friends that, look, they're ignorant. You don't know what you're talking about. So let's start in chapter 18. And here is what Bildad has to say. Chapter 18. Then Bildad the Shuhite replied, when will you end these speeches? Be sensible, and then we can talk. Why are we regarded as cattle and considered stupid in your sight? You who tear yourself to pieces in anger, is the earth to be abandoned for your sake, or must the rocks be moved from their place? You know, we look at this, I guess when I see those first two sentences there, when will you end these speeches, he says to him. Be sensible. Can you see the arrogance there? Do you guys see the arrogance? Be sensible, then we'll talk. Look what he's going through. Yes, sir.
You know, it's kind of like, they have a philosophy, if you don't live according to it, then you're to be condemned. Mm-hmm. And we have a lot of that today, a lot of it. And just to tell you something, in Puyallup, where we live, my friend was selling his house, and his real estate agent came in to talk to him about it, and when she found out he was a Republican, she said, I can't handle you no more. She went. But you know, there's a lot of that kind of thinking. If you don't fit into my mindset, my belief system, then you're exiled. And I can even be hateful towards you. There's a lot of that in our society today.
Mm-hmm. We can be that way in the church, too, towards each other as well. You know, you might see something a little different. I don't want to open up a can of worms or anything, but we can see some things maybe a little different. But let's sit down and have a discussion, and let's come to this agreement and see what truth is really being said here. So, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I was thinking about if I was in Job's shoes and hearing this from my friends, how would you feel? You know, put yourself there for just a moment. Verses 5 through 8, you know, Bildad says that this is what happens to wicked people, basically. This is he's basically saying here as we go into 5 through 8 that you're wicked. And the lamp of the wicked, verse 5, the lamp of the wicked is snuffed out. The flame of his fire stops burning. The light in his tent becomes dark. The lamp beside him goes out. The vigor of his step is weakened. His own schemes throw him down. His feet thrust him into a net, and he wanders into its mesh. A trap seizes him by the heel. A snare holds him fast. So Bildad's saying that the wicked light will be put out here. He's basically calling him wicked. And that we know that here, if you stop for a moment and look at what they're seeing, I guess you could probably see this is what they would think. But we get the whole story here. We get to read what's really going on. So it's easy for us to sit here and say, man, these friends are crazy. But we get this whole story. Yes.
I think, to your point, like I found myself, his friends probably had good intentions. They also were really sure they were right. You must have sinned. And I found myself, and I've seen other people, we think we're so right about something, or about a doctrine, or about this, or about something, that we're going to make people see that they're wrong and we're right. And then, we assume things about them. Well, you must not love Jesus because you can't believe you would do something, and it could be something really stupid. And I think for me, it's like I got to be careful to think about maybe I shouldn't assume things about other people. And when I'm talking to them, maybe I should try to give people the benefit of the doubt and listen to their side of things as well. So I kind of see that in this.
Assumption can get us in a lot of trouble. It really can. When we assume things as well. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Verses 7 through 12 here. A noose is hidden from him on the ground. A trap lies in his path. Terrors startle him at every side, and dog his every step. Calamity is hungry for him. Disaster is ready for him when he fails. It eats away parts of his skin. Death's firstborn devours his limbs. He is torn from the security of his tent and marched off to the king of terrors. Again, now he's saying that the wicked are trapped. Again, he's basically calling him wicked. 13 through 21, fire resides in his tent. Burning sulfur is scattered over his dwelling. His roots dry up below, and his branches wither above. The memory of him perishes from the earth. He has no name in the land. He is driven from light into darkness and is banished from the world. He has no offspring or descendants among his people, no survivor where he once lived. Disease hits the wicked, is what he's saying. The wicked dies. The wicked memory perishes, or the wicked are forgotten, is what Bildad is saying. There's three things or a few things here that I'm seeing that Bildad has pointed out to, or saying to him. He's saying that the light of the wicked is going to be put out. The wicked become trapped. The wicked dies, and the memory is gone. And he's calling him wicked. And then when we go on to 20 through 21 here, it says, Men of the west are appalled at his face. Men of the east are seized with horror. Surely such is the dwelling of an evil man. Such is the place of the one who knows not God. Basically saying all will be astonished by this. Those who were before us, those after, all will be astonished as what happens to the wicked man. So, why is Bildad probably angry at Job at this point?
He wants Job to admit that he did something wrong, that he sinned against God.
Okay.
And you can understand his thought process is, well, wait a minute, he didn't do something wrong. And how can these bad things be happening to him? Everything I think I know is in question.
Okay. Wants Job to admit is wrong. Gary, did you raise your hand? Okay, I thought I saw somebody else. Okay. Yes.
Say that, kind of what Marilyn was touching upon a little bit. I think that a part of how we approach people, for me, it's really unbelievable that they sat there and they were able to say, we see how much pain he's in, so we're going to sit quietly for 7 days, and then they all, I guess, agree to just kind of pounce on him in their judgment. But what's hard for me to understand is that they're sitting here, if they're truly friends of Job, they know what a great man he has been. They know that everything they've seen thus far, and that's what Job talks about, is he has been very dedicated to the Lord. And all of a sudden this comes about, and they question everything about him. I mean, and immediately there is nothing within them that says, maybe we don't know the full story here. Maybe we don't know everything that's going on. And to me, the part that's so stunning is, have these men not suffered at all in their life? Surely these men have suffered at one point in their life. And I just can't help but think, every time that happens, did they think that they were in iniquity or doing something awful, or are they just not, or are they doing what so many of us do, which is, to the degree in which Job was suffering, they say, well, he just must be very bad. And they're not looking inside or their past and saying, hey, this happened to me, or I suffered this one time. And instead of saying, I wasn't trying to be a bad person at that time, they're just focusing on Job and saying, it's so easy to gang up on people and to see people in the worst light, is basically what Marilyn was saying. And it's so easy not to look inside yourself and be like, I am also a person who has suffered in this life. So I am also wicked, or suffer with iniquity, or whatever else. They're not applying any of it to themselves, which I find crazy. Of all this speech, there's not one part where they're like, well, we also have suffered greatly for our sins. It's like, wow. It's very pharisaical.
Okay.
There's a psalm over here, and these guys are really not out of line with where they're jumping to. Because this psalm says, fret not yourself because of the wicked. Be not envious of wrongdoers, for they will soon fade like the grass and wither like the green herb. And trust in the Lord and do good, so you will dwell in the land and enjoy security. And on it goes. You do good, you get good. So their assumption is they're seeing all of this sick man, and they're seeing him, everything taken away from him, and how could he be anything but wicked?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And so, we don't put ourselves necessarily in their shoes, what they're seeing. They're thinking they can believe their eyes.
Okay. I've got a few here. Go ahead, Travis.
It seems like they're probably also thinking, okay, you had to have done something big to get this. You have lost your entire family, all your wealth. You're sitting out here with boils. You're in bad shape. This is not something that happens to someone who swindled someone on a camel deal. You had to have burned down an orphanage to, bring on this type
Or
of
rob the
rap.
come and go down here.
Yeah, so I mean, I think to some extent they're sitting there thinking, okay, you know what you did. It had to be huge.
Yeah. It goes back what he says. Just admit it.
Yeah.
Just admit what you did wrong. Yeah. Yes, sir. Tell me your name again. I'm sorry. Rick.
This is a prevailing thought at the time too. Job was written very early chronologically in the course of the Bible, and so that was a prevailing thought at the time. And just like she said it. The fact is that there are Psalms that talk about you do good, you get good. You do bad, you get bad. And that was just how people thought at the time. This was really before there was any course or pathway to God other than the fact that you were a righteous person like Job was. So, it's not hard to see where his quote-unquote friends are quick to point a finger, when in reality, they weren't that quick to point a finger. They waited until after Job spoke and said, hey, I've done nothing wrong. And so it's like, well, you had to do something wrong, And so, again, the prevailing thought there, it's not like, okay, let's go to the tabernacle and sacrifice for your sin offering. That wasn't available. So this was pre that. And so, again, this post-flood, but, and everybody got wiped out then. So it was absolutely the prevailing thought at that point in time.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Whatever way you want to judge Job's friends or whatever, God made the judgment.
Yep.
And in chapter 42, he judged them. He said, you were wrong.
Yep.
And I condemn you. And so, whatever way we see this, because we're not there, wait. We realize what they did was wrong, because God said it was wrong.
Yeah.
And that's the main.
I think something
Stacey
that
mentioned that
can
this morning.
help some of this too is although it is recorded in Psalms, which I do agree with what has been said. I think these are really, really good comments. But I also agree with Ken. It's like God has the decision, and it's very clear by the end of this that they are very wrong. So they should have done something different within their judgments and how they approached him. But one thing, like with Psalms and other things throughout the Bible, although Psalms is this literature that is poetic, it's general truths, just like Proverbs. And so you can't take theology from just Psalms, because what you see throughout Genesis and on is Joseph suffering innocently. You see Moses suffering innocently. David, who wrote Psalms, suffered immensely in his innocence. So it's like you have to balance those things out. You can't just take one psalm where David's focusing or the psalmist is focusing on the general truth, which is that blessed are those who follow the Lord and cursed are those who don't, which is, from Deuteronomy and other things. Are you choosing blessings or cursings this day? But overall, there is also this running thread throughout Scripture with sometimes people who are innocent or who aren't doing anything wrong are suffering immensely in this fallen world. So that's also running straight from Adam and Eve forward after that. So we got to keep that in mind too, which is probably where that is coming, where God is saying, you are not justified in your ignorance. You are still condemned for the way that you are judging this man.
Okay. Good comments. Okay, one more, and then I got to get to 19. I promised Randy I'd get through 19.
Mine is just quick. At the end of the day, this is all an example for us to be able to look back upon and say what we should and shouldn't do.
Yeah. One day I want to ask Job, or tell Job, hey, thanks for everything. You went through a lot to show us some good examples, and so, okay. Anybody? Okay, no, I can't take any more. I got to keep moving. All right. Okay, let's go to chapter 19. Now, Job is going to reply here to Bildad, and we'll discuss this. Let me get through this, and then I might ask some questions here, because I do need to get through this. All right. Chapter 19, let's start in verse 1 here. Then Job replied, how long will you torment me and crush me with words? 10 times now you have reproached me. Shamelessly you attack me. If it is true that I have gone astray, my error remains my concern alone. If indeed you would exalt yourselves above me and use my humiliation against me, then know that God has wronged me and drawn his net around me. So we see that Job is scolding them a little bit here. And he says, you shamelessly attack me. Obviously, there's no comfort for him, and they're just